Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirhanacharya Yamuna Tirhanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirhanacharya Yamuna Tirhanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhangsa Prabhupada Asadhara Satushi Shriman His Divine Grace Shalasi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol Glorious to the Sound Devotees All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Om Agyanatavanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutle Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Vrijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Dagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Turvyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 19. The Lord begs charity from Bali Maharaj. Text number 35. Nashtam te narake manye ya pradatu pratishrutam pratishrutasya yontisha prati pradayutam bhavan nishtam te narake manye ya pradatu pratishrutam pratishrutasya yonisha pratipada yitum bhavan. Ladies. Ande narake manye pradutagatutam didatayamrita uvidam nishtam perpetual residence te of you narake in hell manye I think he indeed pradatu of a person who cannot fulfill pratishrutam what has been promised pratishrutasya of the promise one is made yan anisha one who's unable pratipadayitam to fulfill properly bhavan you are that person. Translation and purport, but there's no purport actually, just translation. You will certainly be unable to fulfill your promise. I think that because of this inability, your eternal residence will be in hell. Text 36. Learned scholars do not praise that charity which endangers one's own livelihood. charity, sacrifice, austerity, fruitive activities are possible for one who is competent to earn his livelihood properly. They are not possible for one who cannot maintain himself. Text 37. Dharmaya nashase artaya kamaya svajanaya cha panchada vibhajan vitam ima iha mutra cha modite. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, one who is in full knowledge should divide his accumulated wealth in 5 parts. For religion, for reputation, for opulence, for sense gratification, and for the maintenance of his family members. Such a person is happy in this world and in the next. Purport: the Shastras enjoin that if one has money, he should divide all that he has accumulated into 5 divisions. 1 part for religion, 1 part for reputation, 1 part for opulence, 1 part for sense gratification, and 1 part for maintenance of his family. At the present, however, because people are bereft of all knowledge, they spend all their money for satisfaction of their family. Srila Rupa Goswami taught us by his own example by using 50% of his accumulated wealth for Krishna, 25% for his own self, 25% for the members of his family. One's main purpose should be to advance in Krishna consciousness. This will include dharma, artha, and kama. However, because one's family members expect some profit, one should also satisfy them by giving them a portion of one's accumulated wealth. This is a Shastric injunction. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Satarane. Just one comment. Does anyone know what that monitor on the wall is? What is that? Sound. And what happens when it goes above 90? Does anyone know what happens? You work with sound. Do you know what happens when it goes above 90?
No, it's okay. If it goes above 100, it starts hurting.
Hurting.
Yeah.
Well, according to my monitor, it says, it depends how long you hear the sound above 90, how it's going to... It's hurt. Why does it hurt? Because there's very fine nerve cells, hair cells, which are connected to the nerves in the ear, the inner ear. And when you start going above a certain sound, then they start dying. And what happens when they die? Then you become like a Tul Krishna Bru. So if you ever notice some of our senior devotees, especially musicians, with things in their ears, do you know what those are? Anyone have any idea what they are? Well, you'll find out later on. Only time separates you, you'll know exactly what they are. So, anyhow, I think, just as a matter of suggestion, if everyone has, because here in this, somehow or another, this room, it doesn't take much to go above 90, even 100, that you can always carry some earplugs, or you don't need so many cartels. They don't have to clang as loud as possible. The holy name doesn't increase according to the sound of the cartels. If by hitting the cartels real hard, Krishna appeared in his name, then we should give big whompers. But it doesn't work like that. Here it mentions Dana Jagnastapa. Jagnadana tapa karma natya jam karma eva cha eva tat jagnodana tapaschaiva pavanani manishina. That sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should be performed without attachment or any expectation or result. They should be performed as a matter of duty. O son of Pritha, that is my final opinion. And that was the acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. This is what Śrīmad mentions to his disciple Bali Maharaj, and he just adds something else on there that I don't think Krishna got it from Śrīmad because Śrīmad. Learned scholars in our praise that charity which endangers one's own livelihood, charity, sacrifice, and austerity, and fruitive activities are possible for one who is competent to earn his livelihood. So, Krishna says dana, jagna, and tapa, but he doesn't mention fruitive activities. As a matter of fact, he says they should be done without any expectation of return. But Śrīmad is a materialist, and for the materialist, still we do sacrifice, we do charity and penance. Does anyone know what Prabhupada says for the devotee? Which one is, what charity do the devotees give especially? And what charity is that? Well, we're aspiring devotees, we don't even know what charity we're giving. Yes, that's the charity problem. Dadati pratigrinati guyamakiti prichati punkte bojayate chaiva shadvidam prati lakshanam. That dadati pratigrinati. So, to giving, dadati pratigrinati. So the devotees giving charity, offering gifts in charity and accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad. These are the 6 symptoms of love exchanged between one devotee and another. So when we're chanting, actually what we're trying to do is give in charity the holy name. We're using our energy to distribute the holy name. So that's the greatest charity. And when we listen, then we're accepting that charity. Of course, there's also prasadam in Krishna. Prasadam is also spiritual. And we offer prasadam, we accept the prasadam. And what does revealing one's mind and confidence mean? It doesn't mean gossip, by the way. Or to tell people, actually, I want to tell you the truth. I hate you. Well, let me reveal my mind to you. I hate you too. Hey, we're in agreement. What is revealing one's mind and confidence? When do we do that? What does it mean? What does it mean? Oh, wait a second. We asked her. Yeah.
Maybe if you have some struggle or some difficulty, you can ask a senior or you can ask someone you trust for some guidance.
Yes, it means that. But what are you expecting from the senior? Guidance. So that means we want some direction in Krishna consciousness. In other words, someone who has more realization than we do, who has probably said, if you don't have intelligence, then ask someone who has intelligence. So at least we know enough that we don't know. So that's very valuable to know that when you don't know. If you think you know something when you actually don't know, then you get into a lot of trouble. So to know that you don't know is a great advancement. Like Parikshit Maharaj, he asked a question. Varyan eshate prashna krito lokita ripaha atmavan samatap punsam shotavyadishu yakparaha. And Shukadeva Goswami said, this is a glorious question because it's valuable for everyone, for the person who asks the question, for the person who hears the answer, for the audience that listens to the answer. So these are all valuable. So to ask a good question is also giving in charity. It gives people the opportunity to give a good answer. If you don't ask a good question, then no one gets the opportunity to give their answer. So what is the Bhagavatam? It's just full of questions and answers. And what happens in the Bhagavatam when one's asked a good question, like when Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadeva Goswami a good question, especially in the 10th canto, what happened? What happened with Shukadeva Goswami? I told Krishna wrote.
He became liberated.
Well, he was what was his experience when he was? It begins with an E. He became full of ecstasy. Because why? Because when you ask a question about Krishna, what happens? You remember Krishna. And what can be more of a charity than helping someone remember Krishna? Because as it says, Nitya Nava Nava Yavana, the story of Trinavarta, that if one Krishna, remembering Krishna is Nitya Nama Nama Yavana, which means it's always fresh and new. Every day Śrīmati Radharani, when she gets up preparing herself for her pastimes with Krishna, she thinks, I may have met this boy sometime. It's not very clear, but today maybe I'll get a chance to actually meet him. For her, it's ever fresh and new every time she meets Krishna. So if you offer someone some stale piece of fruit or something, it's not very enjoyable. But if you offer someone a very sumptuous meal full of all the different flavors and completely fresh and nicely cooked, then it's very nice. So offering Krishna, that's the highest charity one can give. When Prabhupada there was one devotee, I guess you can say, he was when Prabhupada first came and he was at the loft and then in New York, and then he was going to visit a Mizra's place in upstate New York. There was one person who came with him. He was attracted to him. Later he got initiated, many years later. Very simple person. And one time he asked Prabhupada for the Mahamantra, if Prabhupada could write it down, because he couldn't remember it so easily. So Prabhupada wrote it down, and he said that when he offered the Mahamantra on the piece of paper to this particular, who later on became a devotee, he said it was like Prabhupada was offering him $1 million, the way he offered it to him. Same devotee, I forget his name actually, I forget what his initiated name was. He also asked Prabhupada for the recipe for chapatis. So Prabhupada, at that time, he didn't have very much money, so he said $100. And he gave him $100. That was a lot of money back at that time. $100 is not like it is now. So that was another charity which at least this devotee had to give some charity to get the recipe for chapatis. So the mentality of charity, Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatvam shantim richate. That Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the controller, Krishna is the friend of all living entities. So which part would be charity? Who do you give charity to? Does anyone know who you give charity to? Is it your friends or enemies? Anyone give charity to their enemies? Someone raising their hand? We usually give charity to our friends. And generally we accept charity from friends. So, Krishna says that he's giving everyone charity. What kind of charity is Krishna giving everyone? Does anyone know what charity Krishna is giving according to Bhagavad Gita? What are some of the charities Krishna gives? Really tough questions. I hope this is not on the Bhakti Shastri test. Of course, you know, they're kind of vague. Maybe if we gave you the answers beforehand, then you could study. What about Rasaham Apsnukondiya Pravasi Shasi Suryo Pranava Saravedeshu Shabdake Purusham Rishu? What does that mean? What does rasa mean? What's that? Mela. Rasoham Apsnukondiya. Of course, nowadays, it may not be applicable in modern society. This Rasoham Apsu, what does Apsu mean? What's that? Up. What? Water, yes. Bhumir apalo vayu. So water. He's the taste in water. Because nowadays they add so many chemicals to the water. You can't taste the water, you taste the chemicals. He's the taste without the chemicals. Krishna donates the water, and the pharmaceutical companies and others, they donate the chemicals. So Krishna is giving everyone charity. This is what Prabhupada mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, that the impersonalists, they perceive Krishna, that this energy is called water. But the devotees perceive Krishna and the taste in the water, that this taste, pure water, that this taste is Krishna. Now, of course, we don't put the water generally in our altar and worship the water. And someone says, why are you doing that? Because it says in the Bhagavad Gita that if we open this bottle every day and we taste it, then Krishna is there. It's simultaneously one, it's Krishna's energy. And the idea is if we remember the energy is non-different from Krishna, then we remember Krishna. And that Krishna is giving us this water, not because he has nothing else to do, he just threw some water into the universe. Because water is necessary to maintain the body. Rasoham, Apsukondiya, Prabhasi, Shasi, Shuryo. He gives us the light and the sun and the moon. Because this is necessary to maintain the body. But he has a purpose. Just like if you give your servant something, or you give something, it has a purpose behind it. Everything has its purpose. So what is Krishna's purpose in giving us the opportunity to maintain this body? He has two purposes. Why is he giving everyone this charity? Does he have to do it? Is Krishna obliged? Devarshe bhutatman rinam patrinam nekinkaro yak sharanam sharanam, that Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Ap, that there are so many persons that we're obliged to. The Devas, the demigods, the Rishis, the forefathers, common living entities. The Kinkaro Yak Sharanam Sharanya. So if someone is giving us something, then we're obliged to pay them back. So why are we obliged to pay them back? Why is it the universe set up like that? Because it's not our energy. Ultimately, it belongs to Krishna. And if someone is giving us something, it's actually Krishna giving us something. That everything here is actually under Krishna's control. We may imagine that we're all independent. And of course we have some free will, who we want to give our energy to. But we're going to have to give our energy to someone or something. And why do we give our energy to someone and something? Well, in the material world, we imagine that we're going to get some love, some appreciation, something out of it. But actually it's just our minds demanding things. But of course, the soul wants love, it wants appreciation, it wants so many different things, but it's hoping to get it through the external energy. So we're giving charity and everything else, penance, austerity, but we're specifically talking about charity here, because we're hoping that by doing that, we'll actually get some reciprocation. We give it to our friends generally, we give it to the people we love, we give it to ourselves, as it mentions here. But actually, everything here belongs to Krishna, and everything is actually being moved by Krishna. Everything is under Krishna's control. So it appears that someone's giving us something, or someone's taking something away from us, but actually it's all Krishna's doing. Does that mean Krishna is responsible in the material world? No. What does Krishna say about his responsibility? Does anyone know? Bhagavad Gita? Everyone's accusing Krishna as being partial. Matter of fact, when we get into we went through the 7th canto, and in the 7th canto, the beginning is all about Krishna's partiality. That he gave, just like Bali Maharaj in the 6th canto, Krishna disguised himself as a brahmachari in order to get charity from Bali Maharaj. Well, here it is, in 8th canto. But what was his objective? What was he trying to do? He wanted to give charity to who? So Bali Maharaj is giving charity to Vamanadev. Did Vamanadev want to set up a new vacation home somewhere with the charity? What did he want with the charity that he got? Does anyone know? Anyone read this Bhagavatam sometimes? Who did Bali Maharaj, who did Vamanadev want to give his charity that he got from Bali from? Who did he want to give it to? Begins with an I. Indra. Yes, Indra. He wanted to give it to Indra. Why did he want to give it to Indra? What was impelling Vamanadev to come? Why did Vamanadev come to give charity to Indra? What happened with Indra? What's that? Yes, so we should go back to the beginning of the Bhagavatam. Yeah, why did he lose the kingdom? Yeah, what did he not want to give to his spiritual master? What did he neglect to give to his spiritual master, Brihaspati? What very simple thing did Indra not give to his spiritual master? Respect. In other words, he thought, I'm so opulent, I have so much. Who is this poor beggar coming to my assembly every time? Why should I give him any respect? If he had anything going for him, he'd have a throne like me. But look at him. He's just a beggar brahmana. So then he lost his everything. Because how did Indra get his kingdom? Did he get it because he was born Indra and therefore Krishna thought, I like this guy, I think I'll give him a kingdom. How did Indra get a kingdom? What charity did he get that enabled him to get a kingdom? Did he get any charity from someone? Sorry to make everyone think. It's like, how did actually Indra get his kingdom? How does Brahma get his kingdom? How did we get whatever we got. There's a tool. Through Krishna, but through what medium? What's that? But how do we know what to sacrifice? How do we know what to do to get a result? What do we have to do? What's that? Before you can do prayers, what do you have to do? I'll give you a hint. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Yes, we have to hear about something. So according to what we hear, we may become attracted to desire something. And when we desire something, what happens when we desire something? Does anyone know how actions take place? We just hear about something and then we just say, yeah, I want that, and then it just appears. Yes.
The super soul fulfills it.
Yes, the super soul. He senses our desires just like one can understand the flavor of a flower by smelling it. So we desire, and then Krishna senses the desire, and then he then he orders the material or the spiritual energy to arrange itself in such a way as to fulfill our desire according to what we deserve. And how does the desire take place? Well, we hear first. Everything, we hear the glories about something. So if someone says, just like Prabhupada gives the example, a little child tastes something and thinks, and then offers it to the father. Father, here's some chewing gum, it tastes real good, please take it. So the father hears the glories of the son, the glories of this particular food that the son is offering, and then he takes it. He wants to experience it. He desires to experience it. Now, if the son said, my dear father, here's some poison, I'd like you to take it, get rid of you. Then that would not be very likely that the father would actually take the food. Probably, anyhow, I don't know what would happen. So, we hear the glories about something, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and then our mind becomes filled with desire. Like, for instance, say a beautiful woman who's walking down the street, and a dog sees the woman. Now, he doesn't know it's a beautiful woman. He thinks, well, here's a good meal. He doesn't discriminate. Now, if another nice-looking dog walked down the street with a beautiful tail, he might become attracted. But for him, the woman, he hasn't heard that this is a beautiful woman, and he's thinking, here's my Sunday feast. Now, a brahmachari, if he's looking at a beautiful woman, he has a different understanding than a lusty man, who's heard something completely different. So everything depends upon our ability to hear or our inability to hear, how we react to things. So hearing fills our minds with desire, and when the minds are filled with desire, how do we act? Most of us can't act just with our mind. What do we have to do? Well, without intelligence, we can't hear anything. Hearing is actually stimulating our intelligence, and that intelligence is, when we hear it, when our mind and intelligence are stimulated, then we have desire. And as Atul Krishna Maharaj said, then Krishna fulfills the desire through his energies. But when we have material desire, when we have desires, say material desires, then the senses become agitated by lust, because that's how we're inspired to fulfill our desires. Because we may think, and then we feel. We feel through our senses and our mind. If the mind is feeling something, then the senses will also get involved. Just by thinking about something, the senses get involved a little bit, Like, I want to kill this person. So the senses, wait a second. Maybe I won't kill the person. He is my enemy, and I've killed him, and all my other enemies, they'll also be killed. So we think, then we feel, and when we're feeling, I gotta do it. Like Banasura, he had 1,000 arms, and they were all, I gotta fight. Imagine we have 2 arms, we want to fight. But if you have 1,000 arms, they want to fight, you're really absorbed in fighting. But he was a big, that desire manifests itself as lust. Material nature appears as lust. Dhyayato vishayam pumsam sangaste shupajayate sanga sanjayate kama krodo bhajayate. That when we're contemplating something, then material nature appears. All right, you want to enjoy that object? Well, here's some lust, love, inspiration, whatever you want to call it, in the material world. Then the senses become agitated, and then the next thing is that lusty intelligence comes. Because material nature, in order to fulfill that desire, then the intelligence has become, if the soul desires to fulfill that desire, then he needs intelligence to do it. But it's lusty intelligence. And lusty intelligence inspires the living entity, the soul, to acquire a false ego, by which he can identify himself with his gross and subtle body. That's why we hear this every class, everyone says we're not the body. You've heard that before? And we walk out of the room, in the class we have, suddenly a little halo appears over our head. And then we walk out of the room and tuck the tail under. We're back as a material body again. Because we start looking around, chocolate cake, oh, no, yeah, all right, no worries. It's Christmas. So lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire a false ego, by which one misidentifies oneself with the mind and the senses. And then we forget it's all Krishna's property. It's supposed to be utilized in Krishna's service. No, I'm going to utilize it in the service of my senses. So that's our choice. It happens so quickly, so suddenly, it appears that we have no control over it. Just like a beautiful woman may be walking down the street, and we look at the beautiful woman, and we say, she's the one. Finally, my soulmate has appeared. And then she has a man next to him, but she has a man next to her. And I read some book they gave me during the marathon, I can't remember what it was, called Bhagavad something. And it said if she has a dot on her forehead, she might be married. So I don't know what the dot was. Maybe she forgot to wash her face today. In any case, she has this man next to her. But anyhow, she seems like the one I want, so how should I get her? Because then the mind says, don't think of that man next to her, who knows who it is. But, it said in the Bhagavad that, she might be married. No, that's not the philosophy. That's 5,000 years ago they thought like that. Today it's if it feels good, then you do it. That's the actual philosophy. You've been to school, you're not a fool, you know the rule. That's what they teach in school. So let me go for it. So what should I do? Then we ask the intelligence, what should I do? So the intelligence says, write her a letter. Tell her she's the most beautiful woman you've seen, and in very small print, put in the last 2 weeks. Tell her you're madly in love with her. You can't live without her. That if she should meet you in such and such place at such and such time, And when she's very nice to you, you'll give her the sun and the moon. And if she's especially nice, you'll throw in a couple of extra stars too. So write her a letter, tell her, but don't sign the letter. Because that man next to her is twice as big as you are. So this is material consciousness. But spiritual consciousness is, you see the lady, and you write her a letter, or you go up to her, and you give her a book, the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna book, and you give him a Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and you say, you're the most beautiful couple I've seen in the last 2 weeks, or moment. You're the most beautiful couple I've seen out here today. That you're the most intelligent, etc., etc. You know, this book matches your dress, so you should definitely take it home with you. And you're fantastic people, you know. And then they say, well, what can we do for you? Well, just give a little charity. That's all. As Prabhupada Swami said, that, you know, go up to someone and you give them, you praise them up and down, and then you give them the charity of the Bhagavad Gita. You're the most wise, you're the most intelligent, you're the strongest, you're everything, you're my God. But please take this and read this, and you'll find out you're a fool. This is my charity to you. Give you some praise, and then we give you a book so you can find out where you're actually at. So the material world is didati pratigrinati. It's constantly people giving gifts and accepting gifts. This is the whole thing. And that's all that's really going on. Everything we're doing, when we're saying something, when we're speaking, it's giving gifts of knowledge. And if we're receiving it, then we get gifts of knowledge. But that gift of knowledge is so we can utilize whatever we have in Krishna's service. That's real knowledge. And all the other knowledge that's being given is actually entangling people. It's really not a very good gift. You don't give such gifts to your real friends. You give to people who you want to eliminate. That kind of gift you give to people. But to your friends, you give the best gift. So the best gift is Krishna consciousness. Everything else is entangling. Just like people give in charity in the mode of ignorance. They want to help people. You can't say they're not sincere. They want to help people. So that sentiment of wanting to help people, people appreciate. Oh, they're so kind. Let me give, like there's some kind of group or a so-called spiritual group that's known as the Morgi Society. You know what Morgi means? What does Morgi mean? What is that? Chicken. Why are they called the Morgi Society? Atul.
It's Bengali. It's in Bengal. Bengal. Chicken is Mugi.
Morgi. And why are they called the Morgi Society? Morgi. Why?
Because the teachings, there's no restriction on what you eat.
Chicken and
It's easy to do.
chicken. Brother chicken, father chicken. You distribute chicken. But what's the result of distributing chickens? The people who are distributing chickens, what will happen to them? Does anyone know? How did someone become a chicken? They join the Morgi Society. That's one way of becoming a chicken. So they have good sentiment, they want to help people, and they give chickens. Is that a very good thing if you become a chicken in your next lifetime? Does anyone want to become a chicken? Are you raising your hand? I think I said yesterday that one lady was saying, that Prabhupada was saying, if you act like a dog, then you'll become a dog. So the lady who raised her hand said, Swamiji, you say if I act like a dog, I'm going to become a dog. But I want to tell you, I don't mind if I become a dog. I want to become a dog. And Prabhupada said, you have my blessings. So people are giving blessings, they want something for some reason or another, and they'll get what they want eventually if they work hard enough for it. If they maintain that desire, then Krishna will fulfill that desire. He'll give the direction how that desire can be fulfilled. Like people want to become a dog, so what do? And if you can buy a dog suit. It costs around maybe it's a little more expensive here, because it was $10,000 in Hong Kong. You could buy a dog suit. Very good dog suit. You can go to the park and play with the dogs. So if you really want to you can practice becoming a dog even in this lifetime. Probably inside the suit there's instructions on how to act like a dog. And people are practicing. As a matter of fact, the whole world is full of people practicing to enter into the lower species of life nowadays. They're working hard. To go to hell takes a lot of effort. To go back to Godhead, all you do is have to chant Hare Krishna. But to go to hell really requires big factories and slaughterhouses and brothels, cigarette and places. It's really an intense endeavor to go to hell. But people are enthusiastic to go to hell because of all the advertisement. They think in hell that's where it's at. It's quite warm. You don't have to worry about the weather. It's pretty steady weather. It's like a free sauna. There's rock music. There's all kinds of interesting things going on in hell. So people, they think, well, what's the harm? What's the harm if I become a dog in my next lifetime? You go to hell only for a short period of time, and then you go into the lower species of life. What's the harm if I become a dog? I want to become a dog. I want to become a bird and I can fly for free. I want to become a fish. I can swim. I can surf with my own body. I can do body surfing for lifetimes. It doesn't matter what the temperature of the water is. It's perfect. And I swim like a fish. So this is Krishna's charity. He's giving everyone charity all the time. All we do is have to desire it, and then Krishna will give us the intelligence how to get it. So Krishna is the biggest charity giver. The question is what we're going to do with the charity. Are we going to become also equally charity givers as Krishna is? And we should get the best charity from Krishna? What Krishna thinks is the best thing he can give us? It's like you go to a billionaire and you ask, my dear sir, you're a billionaire, can you give me some peanuts? Sure, no problem, here's some peanuts, go away. Get rid of you. But if you ask for the best thing that he can give, then he might give that to you also. That's what one of the explanations Prabhupada gave for why people have fallen into the material world from the spiritual world. Because in the spiritual world, there's everything there. Unlimited bliss, unlimited knowledge, eternal, how to become more and more loving, more and more appreciative, how to become a better and better lover. Everything's there, everything is wonderful, everyone is wonderful. But you think, well, what would it be like to be Krishna for a moment? You have everything there, and then you think, well, what it would be like if I was Krishna? It's like going to a billionaire and asking for a few grains of some peanuts to see what it's like. So we've come here out of curiosity to find out what kind of charity I can get in this material world, what kind of experience I can get in the material world, pretending I'm something I'm not. I'm tired of being a 1/10,000th the size, the tip of hair size. I want to pretend I'm everything. I'm giving charity to everyone. I'm the maintainer. I'm the enjoyer. I'm the controller. So we come here to experience what it would be like to be the benefactor of everyone. Instead of Krishna giving everything, the sunlight, the moonlight, then we just cross Krishna out and we put ourselves there. If we can't maintain the sun or the moon, whatever, we don't claim that. We just say it's all by accident. But my family, I maintain them by my prowess. By my austerity, by my sacrifice, then I'm prepared to give charity to my family and maintain them. So this is just, all of the material world is just different levels of pretension. Different levels of asatya, of untruthfulness. Imagining that we're giving the charity. And what does Krishna tell Arjuna about what his position is and how he should see himself? An instrument for who? Nimitra matram bhavasavasachin. Krishna says, after Krishna says, here, welcome to the material world, you just were wondering why everything here is so crazy and horrible. Now, I'll tell you why. Because kalosmi lokashe krit pravrido. Krishna has given us one thing that we probably don't like very much. Sometimes. What's that? Time. Yes. Time I am. When you're 5 or 10, you want to be 15 or 20. And when you're 25 or 30, you want to be 15 or 10 again. Time I am, the destroyer of all the worlds, and I've come here to destroy everyone. For a while there, they were causing everyone to worry about terrorists. Everyone was a potential terrorist. But they didn't realize that the real terrorist is living in everyone's heart. You can't get rid of him. And he's controlling time. He's killing everyone. This cowherd boy that everyone thinks is so innocent, plays on a flute, has his nice girlfriend, seems pretty happy. He's actually the biggest killer. He's killing everyone. And no one even knows it, unless they read Bhagavad Gita. He's the biggest terrorist. Krishna is the biggest everything, so he must be the biggest terrorist. And he's given everyone charity, time. He's given them time. What kind of time is that? Time to enjoy and experience whatever they want to in this material world, and then go on to the next thing that you want to experience and enjoy. Through 8,400,000 species of life. Or as Prabhupada said, now the question is, I don't want to. There's certain things I want in the material world from Krishna, but what are you talking about? He's allowing me to experience all these different bodies. Why do I want to do that? So Prabhupada gave the example when he was going to his doctor in Los Angeles on his way back. He came across a sign for a movie. It said, the title of the movie is there sex after death? So Prabhupada came back and he gave a lecture at the temple, and he brought this up as one of the points. He said, I was coming back from my doctor and I saw the sign for the movie. It said, is there sex after death? So the devotees at that time, practically all of them were going out and distributing books and talking to people about Krishna. So Prabhupada said, you should go out and you should tell the people that you meet that they don't have to worry that there's sex after death. And 8,400,000 species of life. And if they know there's sex after death, they won't be afraid of death anymore. Because they'll get whatever they want after they die. Matter of fact, if you get into the lower species of life, that's what you want, then why try to come back and work so hard in a human form of life to get those things? If you become a pig, you're liberated. You're on the spontaneous level of sense gratification. Krishna has given you the highest benediction in the material world for sense gratification. Why work like a human being to do things like eating in Vrindavan, the hogs don't have to work at all for eating. They just enter into the sewer and they open their mouth and all the Mahaprasad from the remnants of the Vaishnavas enter in. They don't have to worry about sleeping. A hog can sleep anywhere, and no one bothers him. Anyone going up to a hog and wake up, you lazy hog. Get up. You've been sleeping for days. And about sex, the hog is, it's completely liberated. It has no gender whatsoever. Everyone, he's in love with everyone. He's in love with his sister, his wife, his daughter, and he might even fall in love with you. He's liberated. He's the ideal. And as far as offending goes, most living entities don't want to get near the hog. And if they do, he fights the best he can. He doesn't have to learn any karate moves or anything. He does the best he can. So he can sleep completely peaceful. He's reached the perfection of sense gratification. There's nothing to aspire for. But that's not the purpose of human form of life. The purpose of human form of life is not to get that charity from Krishna. It's to get out of this material existence. To get the real charity is to get Krishna. To come back to our original state, where we don't have to pretend that we're something we're not. We can actually be we're happy to be who we actually are. So that takes some knowledge, some experience to gradually find out who we actually are and to experience who we are and what our relationship with the Supreme is. Not that the Supreme should give us this 8,400,000 species of life. He has something much better to give us. Himself. He can give us, instead of worshiping these different bodies we're in and serving them faithfully, we can serve the Supreme and get unlimited love and happiness from Him. So that's our choice, more or less. What charity we want from Krishna and what charity we want to give to others. Do we want to put them in the material conception of life, or we want to raise them up to understand help them realize what the greatest charity is. Therefore, krite tadayato Vishnu, Traitiyam yajato mukai, dwarpayam paricharyam, kalo tadari kirtanam. So we have the greatest charity to give, but we have to accept it ourselves to realize how valuable it is. These books are so valuable, but Prabhupada wanted us to read it, to find out how Krishna is in it and how we're there too. So we have the greatest charity to give to everyone, but we have to appreciate it ourselves. Otherwise, we want to understand that we can't give anyone better. And if we do that, then not only will Krishna will help us develop a favorable attitude towards others. If we try to serve others in the best possible way, then Krishna will reveal to us that what our original relationship with Him is, and our original relation with everyone is. That we're by nature, we're lovers of everyone. We don't need anything from anyone, but we want to give people something. We want to give them the highest benediction, which is Krishna. Exactly what they do in the spiritual world. Everyone is giving each other Krishna. Everyone is arranging that each other meets Krishna, engages with Krishna, serves Krishna, loves Krishna. And therefore everyone is in love with each other too, because everyone is giving the highest charity, Krishna. So I'll stop there and thank you. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Thank you so much for the class. What happens when we give charity, but we have some expectations of fame, status, and reputation? Is that, of course, it's not unconditional, but how that affects our conscience?
Well, what do you think, how it affects your consciousness? I mean, who do you want to become famous? Who do you think you are? Do you have any idea who you are? Do you want your body to become famous? What good, when you leave your body, do you take your fame with you?
It's just that there are so many philanthropists that so-called give charities. They are charitable. But
Yeah, they're serving their false ego. Everyone in the material world is serving a false ego. But what do you get from it? What happens to you? Well, you may come back and you may become rich in your next lifetime. You may become but if you misuse that riches, then you'll go down to the lowest species of life. You get an opportunity because of your charity to come back and receive the benefit of it. But then if you misuse it, if you have no knowledge, you'll go to hell. You'll go to the darkest regions of existence. Yes?
These statements of ISKCON, they're self-interested in aspects of materialistic, and they're found in the Bhagavatam, and Bhagavatam is described as Amal Purana, spotless Purana, and Jasmin Prati Shlokam, Janataga Bindava, each and every shloka can create a revolution in misdirected lives of the materialistic civilization. So how do we understand these sections of the Bhagavatam that seem to be materialistic advice?
Well, to understand what good advice is, you have to understand what bad advice is also. Because there's so much advice. So unless you see the ultimate result, then if you only read, for instance, as I always say, that if you only read half the verse, Sarva Dharma Parityajya, you think, well, that's great advice. Let me give up all varieties of religion. But you have to hear the other part of it too. Surrender to me. So we only read one verse and we take this as our flag. We wave. According to the Bhagavatam, one should not only do sacrifice, charity, and penance, but should do it for fruitive activities. But that's not what the end result is that we could see with ISKCON. What happens? He admits he's made a mistake. So we have to look at the end, not only take out one section. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Instruction, when we read the Bhagavad Gita, we should try to assimilate it and not take out different parts of it for our own sense gratification. Yes?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm just wondering, in a sense, we have to invest in reputation just because we have to dress and we have to be perceived in a certain way by society. But I'm just wondering, us as individuals and then us as a collective, as ISKCON, having a certain reputation, forming a certain reputation, can that not be used as preaching?
Well, the gopis also dress very nicely, but they do that to please Krishna. So we should dress nicely to please Krishna. We should be known, especially for not just dressing nicely, but for our good qualities, our character. That's the best dress we can have. Otherwise, Putin had also dressed very nicely. But her everlasting reputation was not because how nice she looked. Because, if Krishna wasn't merciful to her, she would have gotten a really bad reputation. But Krishna was very merciful, so therefore she made it into the Bhagavatam. Not because she dressed nicely, but because she was offering something to Krishna. She offered her breast milk, so therefore she got everlasting good reputation, because she offered something to Krishna. So we should be careful that we're doing it for Krishna, whatever we're doing. And there's a standard. So we want to look nicely, we want to present ourselves nicely, ladies and gentlemen, for Krishna. Yes?
Hare Krishna. You mentioned about how hearing gives birth to desire. How come is it that if we hear material things,
Yeah.
even just once, we get so much desire from that, but then we hear so many things about Krishna all the time and we don't have that same intensity of desire. So what's the comparison between the two?
Well, every sound is produced and carries from the modes of material nature, according to the consciousness of the person, or for instance, if people speak according to their consciousness, then there's the mode of material nature or the spiritual nature they're under will be conveyed through that sound. And it enters into our ear. If we allow it to enter into our ear, then we have to digest it with our intelligence. So even Prahlad Maharaj was offered poison, but because he offered it to Krishna, therefore it became like nectar to him. Now, we have a taste for material sense gratification, and therefore when the glories of material sense gratification, some object enters into our ear, we become curious, because we have experience of that object, especially eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We've been doing this since time immemorial, and that's what we've been doing. That's why we're here. Now, when the sound vibration of Hare Krishna enters into our ear, we may not have so much experience. We may not be able to digest it very well with our intelligence. We may not even allow it to enter very much into our consciousness. And therefore, it'll take a while, because we have, as it says in the Nectar of Instruction, Sat Krishna Nama Charitati Sitapta Vidya, because we're covered. Our spiritual senses are covered. Therefore, they appreciate material objects, but they can't appreciate the sound of Hare Krishna because we have the jaundice. And so it doesn't taste very nice to us, the Hare Krishna mantra. Or what really doesn't taste nice is when one gives a class, and the purport of the class is you're not God. You're not your false ego. So we're sitting there with our false ego and said, don't listen to this person. He's full of false ego himself. Don't trust him. He's just trying to use this philosophy for his false ego. So we say, yeah, that's right. The false ego says, don't listen to him. They sound like they're chanting Hare Krishna, but it's actually not Hare Krishna, because they're not really devotees. Don't listen too carefully. You might get contaminated. So we have thousands of doubts in our mind. We have thousands of justifications to protect our false ego. And therefore it takes a while to break down our false ego and to understand why we should actually listen and how to listen. It takes a lot of instruction and experience. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. Maharaj, you mentioned how when we hear something, we get attracted to it, and then we get the desire to obtain that. But sometimes we see in the Bhagavatam also, the heavenly planets is described in that, so that we get a desire to, we get attracted to that. So does that mean that we're the heavenly planets?
Yeah, well, Bhagavatam doesn't present the heavenly planets as something very desirable. Matter of fact, it starts presenting in the 9th chapter, 9th canto, before the 10th canto, where Krishna's pastimes will be described. So yeah, the heavenly planets is certainly better than here, but then if you go there, you might get there at the wrong time. Vritrasura might be stomping on the demigods. You arrive there, you see this big foot, we got to stop on you. I worked so hard here. Back in Melbourne. I was only there for 10,000 years in the demigod time, and someone stomped on me. And I'm back at the end of Kali Yuga, at the end of the Golden Age. No more prashadam. These little people are running around trying to eat me. It's better enough getting stomped on, but so much work to get there, you know. I thought it was going to be nice in the heavenly planets, and it's certainly not nice where I am now. So the Bhagavatam doesn't really. There's no story in the Bhagavatam, even in the heavenly planets, which ultimately glorifies it as something really desirable. There may be, aspects. It's beautiful there. You live a long time. Everyone is nice and everyone is healthy, but you get stomped on. You get cursed. You got to flee the heavenly planets. You got to fight against the demons. Indra winds up in a lotus flower for so many thousands of years because he was cursed. So, yeah, it's better than here. And you can make progress from there to go to Brahmaloka, and maybe from Brahmaloka to get liberated, like Gop Kumara did. But you have to be serious. You have to chant the mantra like Gop Kumara. It has to be on the basis of Krishna consciousness that you go to the heavenly planets. Otherwise, you wind up there, you can get into a lot of trouble if you don't keep on going further and further. You may wind up at the end of Kali Yuga. It'll be very unpleasant. Yes, one more question. Yes.
So when someone buys the book or wants to do some charity, what happens to them?
Depends where the charity goes. They gave it. Depends why they gave the charity. I mean, consciousness is a factor. The result is a fact. There are so many factors, so you have to ask either Krishna or Yamaraj what the result is, because it may be variegated. But if they give a donation, then they get eternal benefit from the donation. What kind of benefit will depend on many factors. What their understanding of what they're doing, what the desired result they were expecting, where the money is going to go to that they gave. So many factors. But they'll get eternal benefit. But how much benefit, the many factors will determine that. Anything else? Thank you very much. Grandharaj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.